So what you can see on your screen is the astronauts getting suited up and strapped into their seats. They're preparing for that approach initiation burn. Looks like they're almost ready.
Yeah, we're getting really close now. That'll be scheduled actually from a minute from now, 6:22 p.m. Pacific time. We'll be looking for that burn to occur. It should be about a minute and a half long. And that will, the thrusters will fire on Dragon to, it's currently about 2.5 kilometers below station, and this will swing Dragon up until it's about 400 meters or quarter mile directly below the station.
And this maneuver will also move Dragon inside of one of those 2 checkpoints around the station that requires a set of go-no-go polls with the different control teams. The first checkpoint is called the Approach Ellipsoid, or as you might hear it called the AE. It's an imaginary shape measuring 4 by 2 by 2 kilometers, essentially a large 3-dimensional oval. Before Dragon is given permission to move inside the Approach Ellipsoid, the capsule is configured to be on what is known as a 24-hour safe trajectory. This means that if Dragon lost all control to its thrusters, it would be at least 24 hours before its trajectory would move inside the Approach Ellipsoid.
So that go for the approach initiation burn was also the go for moving inside that approach ellipsoid, and that means things are all checking out well on Dragon. We are standing by, listening for that call that the approach initiation burn has begun. Currently looking about an hour and 40 minutes from docking. And the burn has begun, as we mentioned, looking at around 90 seconds for this burn, and an amazing photo here, or video I should say, of the International Space Station from Crew Dragon becoming ever clearer as it gets closer.
Yeah, you can really see it now. Before it looked kind of just like a bright light. Now you can kind of see the shape of the station there.
A reminder that approach initiation burn currently underway.
And even Baby Yoda is ready for it.
1 minute, 15 seconds into the approach initiation burn.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. Burn complete, nominal burn, and reminder to review your impulsive retreat recovery cue cards if desired.
Okay, Dragon copies, and we saw a good burn, and review the cue cards when able.
Station copies, thanks.
That concludes the approach initiation burn, about 90-second burn.
And communications from Crew Dragon and the International Space Station letting them know they can review some back-away procedures if need be. However, everything's still proceeding nominally with Crew Dragon just completing that approach initiation burn. That brings them up to the 400-meter below station point.
The next burn coming up is the approach initiation mid-course burn. That should be about 6:55 p.m. Pacific time.
That's another one of those fine-tuning maneuvers, and Dragon's computer will determine what is necessary for that burn, just to keep it on track, moving in even closer to the International Space Station.
Again, what you're looking at on your screen is a view from Dragon looking at the International Space Station.
We're now under 7 kilometers away from the International Space Station, a little over 23 minutes to that approach initiation mid-course burn. Should arrive at waypoint 0, that 400 meters below station, in just 42 minutes. That's the first checkpoint. The vehicle can hold there, or it can continue if all systems check out. We'll do a go, no go to approach to waypoint 1 before we arrive at waypoint 0, because as I mentioned, waypoint 0 is not necessarily a hold point if everything is still looking good. So we'll also be looking to hear that go for waypoint 1, and waypoint 1 is what moves, or when Dragon moves directly in front of the station. It'll be about 220 meters away at that point, and directly in front of its docking port, which is the Node 2 forward port.
What you're seeing is a live view inside of the capsule with the crew checking out their display panels right in front of them.
As a reminder, all of these burns are happening autonomously. The crew is simply monitoring, as you said, using those display panels. They're not controlling Crew Dragon at this point. They do have the option to do so if they needed to, but as we mentioned, the vehicle's been performing well and putting us right on track where we need to be.
Yeah, it makes their ride pretty easy. Again, just as a reminder, what you're looking at is a view inside of the capsule. On your left side is Mike Hopkins, and on your right is Victor Glover.
Mission control, where flight controllers are monitoring all the systems aboard Crew Dragon, and as we mentioned earlier, we are now in integrated operations, meaning there's a whole other control room in play, and that's Mission Control Houston, the view right here. They are monitoring everything aboard the International Space Station. They're both conducting these polls that we're mentioning because we are in integrated operations. We want to make sure both sides are go before we move Crew Dragon closer to the International Space Station. We've gotten all goes for all of those polls tonight so far. And the next poll coming up should be for waypoint 1.
And SpaceX,
Station, go ahead.
and sorry, Kate,
And this view coming to you live from Crew-Dragon. This is a view of the International Space Station from the Crew-Dragon vehicle as Crew-1 continues to make their way to the station. They launched at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday, have completed the 5 major burns, exited the rendezvous phase, and are now approaching the space station. We're looking at docking coming up in about an hour and 15 minutes, potentially, and that's a flexible time. And we, before that, though, have an approach initiation mid-course burn. That should be in about 4 minutes from now. About 14 minutes from now, the teams will do a go, no-go for the vehicle to move to waypoint 0. That is 400 meters below the International Space Station. Afterward, they will do the go, no-go to approach waypoint 2. That's coming up at 7:29 p.m. Pacific, and waypoint 2 is when the vehicle is just 20 meters away from the International Space Station. So that's the last hold point for the vehicle.
And then after waypoint 0, they will approach even closer, do a go, no-go pull for docking. And then after that go, no-go pull, will be when they depart from waypoint 2 and then do a crew hands off point check, and then initiate contact, which will be first a soft capture followed by a hard capture, completing docking.
Yeah, and that crew hands off point is a reminder to the crew. It's just a call from the teams here to the ground. It's a reminder to the crew to, if they are maneuvering the vehicle in any way, obviously they're not, or they shouldn't be because it's autonomous, but to not maneuver the vehicle anymore. It comes about when Crew-Dragon's about 2 meters away from the docking port just before that soft capture. So we're looking at about 2 minutes and 40 seconds now until that mid-course maneuver. Crew-Dragon will execute the burn, putting it exactly where it needs to be to begin the next step of the approach sequence. We also heard recently the crew, as you saw earlier, were in their suits, and they'll be in their suits until after docking. We heard that they had 4 good suit leak checks, so that's always good news coming from the crew. And we are standing by for that next burn, the mid-course maneuver.
And we've got confirmation that the approach initiation mid-course burn has begun.
We are standing by for the timing on that burn, but that did happen on time. And once it's complete, the next milestone we'll be looking for is the go, no go poll for the approach to waypoint 0.
Just standing by for the confirmation for that approach initiation mid-course burn, which has already begun.
And once this burn is complete, as we mentioned, we'll have the go, no go for waypoint 0. That will put us about 400 meters below station once we reach it. This is the first checkpoint. The vehicle doesn't have to hold here. It can continue on if all of the systems check out. And once it continues on, it will go to waypoint 1.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop, burn complete, nominal burn. The trajectory has converged on waypoint 0.
And Dragon copies, good burn and conversion on waypoint 0. Good news.
Good news for a good burn. And that will put us in line with where we need to be for waypoint 0, 400 meters below the station. We will also move to waypoint 1 shortly after. That's where Dragon moves in front of the station, approximately 220 meters away, and directly in front of the docking port, the Node 2 forward port. They'll also need a go at that time to move inside the keep out sphere. That's a invisible line with a 200-meter radius around the International Space Station. They'll need to make sure Dragon is 4 orbits safe, or about 6 hours safe. If any of its thrusters were to fail for some reason, meaning it wouldn't move inside the keep out sphere during that time period. And after we reach waypoint 1, our next destination will be waypoint 2, only 20 meters away from the International Space Station and the very last hold point before we move on in.
And after waypoint 2, there will be a go, no go poll before docking begins. But that should happen very shortly after we reach waypoint 2. And then docking should occur just a few minutes after that.
Yeah, it'll take about 5 minutes to get from that 20-meter hold point, waypoint 2, into docking. And the first call we'll hear just before docking is CHOP, crew hands off point, meaning that they should not execute any maneuvers for Dragon. Pretty much exactly, means exactly what it sounds like. And then we'll look for soft capture. Soft capture call means that the soft capture ring has come in contact with the international docking adapter. That ring will retract, bring Crew Dragon in, and then we will wait for 12 hooks to drive to give us the hard capture.
And once docking is complete, it will take a little bit for the APAS hatch to open and Dragon hatch to open, but that should occur, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half after docking has completed. So there are a few checks that they do have to still do after docking is complete and confirmed, but shortly after that, they'll be able to enter the station.
Yeah, those leak checks, ever important when we are talking about the vacuum of space. So those will occur during the time that Crew Dragon is docked. The crew will also get an opportunity to doff or take off their suits, get into those more comfortable clothes again before they float into their new home for the next 6 months. But as you just heard, we had a good approach initiation mid-course maneuver burn, putting us on proper trajectory to reach waypoint 0, the 400-meter point away from the International Space Station. And the next call coming up, we will be listening for a go, no go for waypoint 0 in about 5 minutes.
And we are just about a kilometer away from the International Space Station, so getting closer and closer. It's very slow and steady, but almost there.
Dragon SpaceX on the big loop. The ground is go for approach 0. We will be enabling the maneuver shortly. Expected maneuver start time is 0309 UTC. Reminder that Dragon will nominally continue approach through waypoint 1 toward waypoint 2 without stopping at waypoint 1.
Okay, Dragon copy 0309. You will be enabling the approach 0 shortly, and it will not stop. And we see the approach allowed now.
Good readback.
Station Houston, expect to start monitoring Dragon in approximately 25 minutes. Copy, 25 minutes. Thank you.
We've been getting some really incredible views as Dragon gets closer and closer to the International Space Station. Just a minute ago, we did see a live view from Dragon looking at the space station. It was a little bright because of the sun. There it is right there on your right-hand screen, the International Space Station. You could see how close they are, almost there. On your left-hand screen is the station looking back at Dragon.
We heard a few calls there. The crew received the go from both the team here in Hawthorne and the team in Mission Control Houston to proceed to waypoint 0. And if everything checks out, they will also move through waypoint 0, which is 400 meters below station. They'll pass through waypoint 1 as well and head on to waypoint 2. And waypoint 2 is 20 meters away from the space station. But we expect to reach waypoint 0 about 9 minutes from now. That's 7:09 p.m. Pacific time. So standing by, awaiting for them to reach that waypoint. But we're getting really close now. We could be about an hour away from docking.
Yeah, we're just about 600 meters away from the station right now. And just about 8 minutes from that go, no go for waypoint 1.
Just a reminder that this is all autonomous. Dragon is completely flying on its own. Wow, look at that view on the left-hand side.
You can actually make out the nose cone on top of Dragon there.
Wow, amazing views. Obviously, the space station is in an orbital nighttime, and soon, in just the next few minutes, we should see them crossing that terminator line into orbital daytime. But they're looking down right now, space station 262 statute miles over Earth, as space station and Dragon fly over Tanzania.
Such a cool view, and as a reminder, we do have the nose cone still attached to Dragon on this version of Dragon, whereas previously our cargo Dragon, we actually deployed that nose cone. So now that we keep the nose cone attached, and this helps with reusability efforts so that we don't have to make a new one, don't have to install a new one when Dragon returns.
As we saw earlier, the crew is inside Crew Dragon, suited up in their seats, strapped in, and they will be arriving at waypoint 0 in, it looks like, about 7 minutes.
Just such a cool view of Dragon from the station looking down as it's passing over Earth. They are moving pretty quickly. Now that you can see Dragon in view, you can see how fast it is moving against the background of Earth there.
And Dragon is approaching station now at 0.5 meter per second. It's a bit slower than we were seeing earlier, but that's because we are so much closer to station now. We have to make every single maneuver very fine-tuned, very deliberate. You'll start to see things get brighter, as we mentioned, as Space Station and Crew Dragon enter an orbital daytime. You'll be able to see a little bit of the ocean below, and then eventually, in just a few minutes, both the vehicles will be flying over Madagascar. Only about 4 minutes away now from the arrival at waypoint 0, 400 meters away from the International Space Station.
And we're just under 500 meters away, so once we get to waypoint 0, we will be 400 meters away. Basically, we'll just be passing through waypoint 0, through that 400 meter point, and going, continuing on.
The next hold point would be waypoint 1. That is 220 meters away. They'll need a go to move inside the keep out sphere, a 200-meter radius, an invisible line around the International Space Station. This is the same for every vehicle that arrives and departs the station. We make sure that it is a go to move inside. And this means if Dragon were to lose control of its thrusters for some reason, it would be 4 orbits safe, or 6 hours before it crossed into that 200-meter radius, the keep out sphere. So if everything looks good, Crew Dragon can move through waypoint 1 and up to waypoint 2, which will put us only 20 meters away from the International Space Station. Another view from Crew Dragon, looking at its future destination, its future home for the next 6 months, the International Space Station, even becoming more and more clearly defined as they approach it, as we said earlier, at about 0.5 meter per second.
You can see it shining brightly with the sun beaming off of the International Space Station.
And our astronauts inside, as we mentioned, suited up, strapped in, monitoring but not controlling the vehicle. Crew Dragon continues to fly autonomously. And that is Madagascar that both vehicles are flying over right now.
Just as a reminder, the crew is suited up, and they did perform leak checks, just as they did when they got suited up and ingressed the vehicle prior to liftoff yesterday.
And just a little look back at what brought us to this point. If you're just joining us, Crew Dragon lifted off yesterday on a Falcon 9 rocket at 7:27 p.m. Eastern Time from Kennedy Space Center, beginning their journey to the International Space Station. They completed their first burn last night, the phase burn, and then got a good night's sleep. They had a phase adjust burn this morning, added in there by Dragon's computers to make sure trajectory to the space station, and then had once we reached the 30-kilometer distance from station, we were out of that rendezvous point and then moved into the approach phase. That puts us at the approach out of plane burn, another short burn that the Dragon computers executed. We moved into approach and docking, and we saw that approach initiation burn take place at 6:22 p.m. Pacific time. We also had a short mid-course maneuver.
And now we're just under a minute to waypoint 0. Looks like the station is zooming in on Dragon. Now you can really clearly see Dragon from the station. That looks amazing.
Yeah, you can see that nose cone is open, just like you mentioned. That nose cone protects the forward bulkhead thrusters. It also protects the hatch that the astronauts will float through once they are attached to the International Space Station. This is not the same hatch they entered yesterday when it was on the launch pad. They won't. That hatch won't be open again until they splash down about 6 months from now.
Yeah, and that nose cone only protects the GNC just through ascent, but in the vacuum of space, we don't need that protection. So we have it deployed so that we can expose the GNC so that it can navigate. Crew waiting patiently.
Less than a quarter of a mile away from the International Space Station now. Amazing that we're getting these views inside the cabin during these dynamic operations.
It's really cool to see that side-by-side crew inside of the vehicle and then the shot of the Dragon capsule so close to the International Space Station.
Dragon SpaceX on the Big Loop. Approach 0 has started and the trajectory has converged on waypoint 1. Expect arrival at waypoint 1 at 0334 UTC.
Okay, copy 0334 UTC, arrival at waypoint 1, good burn, and we've converged on waypoint 1.
So we've now passed waypoint 0. We're just a little under 24 minutes away from waypoint 1, which means we are inside of that 400 meters from station.
As we mentioned, we have passed waypoint 0. They gave us a time of 7:34 p.m. Pacific that we should reach waypoint 1, but we do not have to hold there. That waypoint 1 is approximately 220 meters away from the station, and Dragon would be directly in front of the Node 2 forward port, its docking port. And if everything checks out, we can move through waypoint 1. We'll have to have the go to move inside the keep out sphere, a 200-meter invisible line radius around the International Space Station. And that go confirms that if we were to lose control of Dragon's thrusters for any reason, we would be 4 orbits or about 6 hours safe from moving inside that keep out sphere. So we'll need that go for us to pass through waypoint 1. And then the next stop would be waypoint 2, about 20 meters from station.
Waypoint 1 will bring us about 220 meters from the International Space Station. And we don't have to hold there. If we get the go, we can continue to waypoint 2, which will bring us 20 meters.
Once we reach waypoint 2, we will pause there. As we mentioned, the crew is inside. They're seated up. They won't have to push any buttons or fire any thrusters. Dragon is doing this all on its own. It's completely autonomous, meaning the crew is just monitoring when you see them looking at their screens. And waypoint 2, as you mentioned, is 20 meters away from the International Space Station. Once we reach that point, it'll take us about 5 minutes until we'll be looking for that soft capture time. check it out. We've got views of Crew Dragon continuing its approach to the International Space Station. If you just look to the left of the Canadarm there, you can see it continuing its way. It just recently made it through waypoint 0, that 400 meters away or below the station. And we are next going to move through waypoint 1. That's 220 meters away, directly in front of the docking port, the Node 2 forward port. That's also where Dragon docked during Demo 1 and Demo 2. We'll be looking for the go to move inside the keep out sphere, a 200-meter radius. It's an invisible line around the station. It's something that helps our flight controllers monitor vehicles as they approach and even depart the International Space Station.
Such a cool view. Seeing Dragon with the Canadarm from the station and Earth in the background.
And we used to use the Canadarm to capture Dragon before it was configured into this design, this new Crew Dragon design, and it docks autonomously. But for a lot of our visiting vehicles, we have to use the Canadarm2. The astronauts will reach out and grapple a spacecraft or grasp it once it gets close enough. And then flight controllers on the ground will berth it or attach it to the port on the International Space Station. But Dragon is fully autonomous. The astronauts are strapped in their seats, monitoring the mission, awaiting the milestones as we move through waypoint 1. Should be coming up in just a couple of minutes, and continue our approach to waypoint 2, 20 meters away from the space station and that last checkpoint before we move in for docking.
Houston Station on 60 ground 2. I'm in 1.104, Crew Dragon approach and retreat monitoring.
Houston copies, and we were ready for that as well.
Coucou tout le monde.
Bien le bonsoir tout le monde.
Pinaise.
Pinaise.
Bon, bah on y est bientôt.
Normalement. À mon avis, ça va pas tarder.
We are about 10 minutes away from waypoint 1.
Donc une quarantaine
Again,
de
that is
minutes.
where Dragon will swing up and out in front of the station. And that'll bring us about 220 meters away from station, which will bring us to what we call the docking access, which essentially means that we'll be right in front of the docking port.
Yeah, and we don't have to hold at waypoint 1 as long as we get that clear to move inside the keep out sphere, that 200-meter radius around the International Space Station. It's invisible, helps us monitor the arrival and departure of visiting vehicles. This awesome view over the shoulder of our commander and pilot, Mike Hawkins and Victor Glover, just monitoring the mission. Dragon is flying autonomously.
On en a des boulets, je vous jure.
We are about 300 meters away. Closing in on just about 1 meter per second.
Ils sont juste en
So
face.
just
En
about
fait.
80 meters to go until
On
waypoint
voit
1.
l'expert.
T'as vu ça?
Amazing view of
Ah,
the
j'avoue
International
que là,
Space
il est-
Station. That's
il
from the
est
cameras
86,
aboard
ça
Crew
commence à
Dragon.
piquer des yeux.
Both getting a
Donc,
good look at each other.
Bêtise de ça d'y aller. On va essayer d'être un petit peu sérieux. On va essayer, j'ai bien dit.
It's kind of cool to see them both looking at each other as they approach each other.
Le lien ne va
Absolutely.
pas sur l'application. Oh là là, oh là là
And the
là.
crew on board
Oh là
also
là là
monitoring
là là.
on their 3 display
Dis-lui,
panels
enfin
there
non,
in
il
front of them.
m'entend. Eh ben, tu prends ton téléphone, tu démarres
This is
YouTube
all
et tu tapes
autonomous,
manuellement
so
Spirit
they
Mini. Tu vas
really don't
voir.
have to do much
Eh,
except for enjoy
ça
the
marche.
ride. But they do get to
Sinon,
watch on those display panels
Qu'est-ce que tu veux que je te dise?
where they're
oh, sinon,
at
vous racontez quoi?
during this approach here.
Oui, d'où la
You can
flemme. Oh
also
là là,
see
quelle
the
flemme.
International Space Station on that far right and the far left panel.
Imagine, genre là, t'es
So
obligé de
they're
regarder
getting
le
really
live,
the same
ouvrir
view that
ta
we are
bulle,
right here.
Matrix.
C'est ça?
Sure, they're pretty
là, vous
excited
entendez
about
qu'il
making
a la
it to their
flemme.
new home in
Non,
space.
on passe par Messenger.
But once they reach
Surtout que tu
waypoint
dois
1,
avoir
as
la
we
bulle
mentioned,
et
they
tout
don't
dans
have
le
to
casse-couille.
stop. That'll be that 220 meter point. They'll move inside the keep-out sphere at 200 meters, and then the next stop will be waypoint 2. Crew will be 20 meters away from the International
Je vous
Space
conseille les
Station.
céréales en forme de logo NASA, c'est
Dragon
très
will
bon.
focus on aligning its docking system with the International Docking Adapter based on the attitude
Tu
of the
connais pas?
station. And it'll be about 5
Les
minutes
céréales
from that
américaines.
waypoint 2, the 20 meter
C'est grave
spot,
bon.
until contact
on va
and
voir,
capture.
Vache.
We'll be looking for
Moi,
that chop
franchement, je suis-
call.
là,
Stands for crew hands off point
ils
2
ont dû
meters
dormir, non?
before contact.
Bah oui.
And this means the crew is
Voilà.
not commanding the
Ils
vehicle.
roupillent dans la navette.
They haven't been at this
Après, ils ont
time,
rien à
but
faire. Hein. Tout
the
est...
Ouais,
vehicle
bah ouais.
can still have an abort at
Dans le
that time.
futur, pour qui
However,
sait, il y
it
aura
will
des
not
télé et
be
tout, dans les trucs comme ça.
Prop data on SSC 17.
Oh!
SSC 4 says our prop is not receiving Dragon 2 data from PCS. Is that expected?
Tellement car c'est moi. Il est de retour pour nous faire mon retour.
Copy that, Kata.
Aïe aïe aïe. Anthony.
And Kate,
On
we
sait
can
pas, tu
go
allais
ahead and
regarder
fix
ça parce
that
que
by
bon.
cycling it from the
C'est vrai que-
ground, or you can perform that task on the SSC,
C'est pas très
whichever is your
lumière.
preference.
Qui
Anthony?
I'll let you guys do that.
Anthony,
Thank you.
qu'as-tu répondre à ceci?
Copy, we're putting in work now.
Astronaut Kate Rubins, who's on the International Space Station, currently the only American on the International
Non,
Space
soit les
Station. She is joined by her two
Mission
Russian
Amarrage.
cosmonaut friends. That is Sergei Ryzhikov and Sergei Kutsverchkov.
Bah,
They'll be welcoming 4 new crew
normalement,
members to the orbiting laboratory.
comme je disais,
But
c'est
she is
tout est
monitoring the
automatique, mais
approach
oui,
of
ils
Crew
peuvent, manuellement,
Dragon.
ils peuvent le faire
She's
aussi.
also not commanding the approach, and as we mentioned, she won't be using the Canadarm2 to reach out and grapple the vehicle, but she
C'est que
was
ça a
working
vachement
to get
changé
some
quand même,
data,
parce que
and the ground team is going to
Et tu reviens à 60 ans en
recycle that
arrière,
data for her,
t'avais des
restart that for
boutons
her.
partout comme dans un cockpit d'avion.
As we were mentioning, we were discussing
Embêtant.
CHOP,
Là,
the
ils
crew
ont
hands-off
3
point.
écrans,
The vehicle
4
knows
boutons.
if it should abort, so at that point, the crew would not be commanding anything. However, everything's still looking healthy on Dragon and on the International Space Station.
And this view that
Des
you're
boys.
seeing here
Ah,
is
il y en
from
a un
the
qui a éteint la
station,
lumière.
from the node 2 docking port. That Dragon
Donc,
is currently approaching.
en cas de problème. Bah ouais, non, mais c'est clair, tu m'étonnes. Ils sont obligés, hein, c'est tout le temps.
Téléphone pour info, j'ai toutes les infos et actualités. Waouh!
Yeah, you can see in that left-hand bottom corner, that is the
Découvre des
station.
choses.
And that white
Attends,
dot on your right, on the right side of your
J'ai pas
screen
une
is
scène.
Dragon, slowly
Décollage.
approaching. We're just under 5 minutes away from waypoint 1.
Ouais, bah après tous les
under
regarder, j'ai envie de te dire,
280
faudrait passer
meters
sa vie.
away
Et non.
from the station.
Entre toutes les sociétés privées qu'il y a maintenant,
Once we do get that
on
go
finit.
to move past waypoint 2, the 20 meter point. Of course, we're going to reach waypoint 1 first, so we have a couple of
Bon,
steps
bah.
before this, but
On dort
we
pas,
will
hein.
take about 5 minutes to
Bon,
get
il est
in
4h30.
toward the station
Je
from
suis d'ailleurs un
waypoint 2.
bêta-testeur de Starlink.
And after that 5 minutes, we'll hear the chop call, and we will be looking for
Starlinks.
soft
Qu'est-ce que ça
capture
coûte?
first. There are also rotary spring dampers that will soften the contact from Crew Dragon to the International Space Station.
Oh, Blue Origin, en ce moment, ils font des choses pas mal là, pour les vols, pour envoyer des civils dans l'espace. Bon, c'est le système, je t'envoie en l'air et ça retourne tout de suite. Mais...
The hook driving can take about 5
Ah, Blue
minutes,
Origin,
and the
c'est
hard
Amazon.
mate of Dragon to station can take about 3 minutes. That means a full seal will be achieved with 12 hard capture hooks.
So station on 2, I see good RPOP data on SC4, thanks.
Copy, Kate, thanks.
C'est vrai que ça j'ai remarqué aussi, quand on voit un lien sur Messenger, ça te déclenche pas l'application.
Ouais, mais ça a toujours été comme ça.
C'est bidon.
We are just about 30 minutes or so from docking, with currently Dragon approaching waypoint 1. Waypoint 1 is approximately 220 meters away from station.
Donc il y a la fatigue qui fait beaucoup.
And you heard Kate Rubens, who is monitoring this mission.
Oh, puis c'est quand même moins spectaculaire qu'un décollage ou un atterrissage.
The term RPOP, that stands for Rendezvous and Proximity Ops program, and so that is giving her insight into Dragon's position and how it's moving in toward the International Space Station. She'll have some work to do once Dragon arrives, but not until it gets there. But once Dragon arrives, the Node 2 hatch where they're docking is currently closed on the station side.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop, Approach 1 and soft capture ring extension will begin shortly. Dragon will continue approach to waypoint 2.
Donc à l'heure actuelle, on peut les voir dans leur petit sas.
Ça y est, ils ont ouvert les coutilles.
Ils vont jeter l'encre. Non, mais je déconne.
Ça bouge comme ça parce qu'ils ont zoomé avec la caméra.
En vrai, moi je dis que je vais m'opposer, mais je peux même pas. Moi, je dois me lever et tout, et si je...
Tu vois, c'est guidé par un pointeur laser.
Ouais, il y a un petit point là blanc qui clignote.
C'est un pointeur laser.
D'accord, ok.
We're about 240 meters away, so we're just about a minute away from passing through waypoint 1. We're so close that you can see the forward bulkhead thrusters on Dragon there.
Je voyais un truc apparaître.
C'est mon nez.
It's basically those four kind of circles that you see in
je peux pas, comme si je mets la lumière, l'autre va péter.
is open.
Moi, va se lever avec une poêle. Forcément, manuel des derniers. Les derniers SS. Alors, peut-être le mot SS, moi je sais pas ce que ça veut dire, ou alors c'était. Après, oui, c'est sur moi, il y a un manuel, ouais, je pense. Dernière étape.
Every single maneuver very deliberate when we have two vehicles this close in space. About 226 meters away.
Tu imagines le truc en automatique qui va trop vite ou quoi? Enfin, je sais pas comment ça se... Ouais, ça allait vite. Trop stylé, j'ai pas fait attention. En même temps, tu me diras, logique.
Quoi qu'elle est vite.
Bah, il y a un truc au milieu là entre les deux, genre de truc tout blanc qui flotte.
Dragon, SpaceX on the Big Loop. Expect reconfiguration of the C2V2 return link shortly.
Attendez. Ah, fallait zoomer, mais trop tard. Désolé, j'ai activé un truc qu'il fallait pas activer.
And we have passed waypoint 1, Dragon now about 213 meters away from the International Space Station. We also just heard the Corps speaking with Crew Dragon to expect a reconfiguration of C2V2. That stands for Common Communications for Visiting Vehicles. It establishes bidirectional communications between Crew Dragon.
Je pense que la NASA, quand ils vont arrêter leur stream, ils vont les avoir leurs 4000 heures de visionnage. Hein?
Je te jure. Ils vont avoir chier.
Et je confirme, hein, c'est bien un bébé Yoda hein, qu'il y a dans le dragon. Hein.
Ok. What the fuck, j'ai mis. Ok. Alors, attendez les amis, je vais essayer de voir si on peut pas mettre des sous-titres. Malheureusement, on peut avoir que les sous-titres en anglais. Mais bon,
c'est pas grave, c'est toujours ça.
Ça permet peut-être de mieux comprendre ce qu'ils disent. Au cas où. Voilà.
We're on our way to waypoint 2, which will bring us about 20 meters.
Je crois que ça a bugué, il n'y a plus de sous-titres. Alors il parle plus peut-être.
We moved right through waypoint 1, right through the keep out sphere, that 200 meter invisible line around the International Space Station.
Voilà, au moins. Donc on peut voir qu'ils disent d'aller à droite.
Ouais, enfin après les.
Faire dans 200 mètres.
YouTube.
Non
mais là,
non mais j'ai l'impression que les outils de YouTube pour la NASA, t'inquiète pas, qu'ils sont bien traduits.
On n'est pas tous à la même enseigne.
100 mètres. Je laisse les sous-titres ou je les enlève?
Oui, oui. En tout cas, c'est toujours plus fiable que celui de notre cher président, les sous-titres.
Ok, donc là, il voit la station qui s'appelle Dragon. Ça s'appelle Dragon?
Non, la capsule s'appelle Dragon.
Ah oui, d'accord. Ok, donc la station voit le truc, ça fait... Ok. Exact. Donc je savais pas si c'était la station.
Non, la station, c'est l'ISS.
Oui, bah oui, je sais, mais je pensais qu'elle portait un nom.
Bah, l'ISS.
Oui, ah bah, je me doute. J'ai regardé Squeezie pendant presque 7 heures monter l'ISS en Lego. En live, c'est incroyable. Meilleur moment de ma vie. Et en vrai, waouh, j'aimerais. Mon pauvre. Mais non, mais c'est bien Squeezie.
They're resetting some of that data for Kate Rubins. A reminder, she is not commanding any part of Dragon's arrival. She is monitoring it though. And
pas la même vie.
Looking for some of that
non, mais
data
c'était le
in
soir,
that
il était
program.
19h à peu près, jusqu'à 1h, 2h du matin. Il a monté l'ISS en Lego avant de jouer à Face Mon Fou. Elle me fait délire la caméra parce que genre soit elle bouge pas ou soit d'un coup elle se met à bouger toute seule. Enfin, toute seule, elle bouge pas toute seule mais
parce qu'ils zooment.
C'est très perturbant.
The vehicle will focus on aligning its docking system with a docking adapter, so preparing for docking, and there will be a go/no-go pull prior to initiating that soft capture.
La cabine elle-même. Ok.
Here's that same view we were looking at earlier, and you can see even how much closer Crew Dragon has gotten in just the short time since we last received it. Having moved through waypoint 1 since that time period.
Le Crew Dragon. Il s'appelle le Crew Dragon?
Oui.
Ok.
L'équipe Dragon.
Ok. Je croyais que c'était CREW-1.
A little bit more about what Kate Rubins will be doing once Crew Dragon docks. As we mentioned, the Node 2 hatch is closed during the docking, the station side Node 2 hatch. Kate Rubins will check for a leak and then open it for access to the pressurized mating adapter 2. She'll also manually pressurize the vestibule. That's the area between the A-Pass hatch, which is on the station side, and the Crew Dragon hatch. The A-Pass hatch is currently exposed to the vacuum of space. It also has a docking target on it that allows Dragon to align itself with the port.
T'as pas scam d'activer?
Non.
Once that pressurization is complete, Kate Rubins will be able to open the A-Pass hatch to let some air in.
Je vois que la procédure est complète.
She'll be opening a valve specifically on the A-Pass hatch to let that air in. And we'll hold for thermal stabilization before we do some leak checks in the vestibule. We want to make sure
Un peu
that
d'air à
there aren't
l'entrée.
any fluctuating temperatures that are giving us misleading signals on what the pressure is in the vestibule.
Ah, il vérifie aussi les températures.
We'll conduct the leak check for that space between those two hatches. In the meantime, the crew is docking and drying and stowing their suits during that thermal stabilization and leak check. They're stowing their equipment. Kate will open the A-pass hatch and remove the docking target. Almost 2 hours post-docking, these checks are taking place during that time.
Donc Kate, truc, c'est elle qui ouvrira le... comment on appelle ça?
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop. C2V2 link reconfiguration is complete. The soft capture ring extension is also complete. We are planning to hold momentarily at waypoint 2. At that point, we will be asking for your input on lighting conditions and your go to proceed. Do remember that your visors are not required to be down until our final approach.
Okay, Dragon copies all, and we'll be holding momentarily at waypoint 2, and we will give you a good lighting check at that point.
Et là, ils vont faire Houston. On a un problème.
So as you heard, we are on our way to waypoint 2.
En espérant qu'il n'y ait aucun problème, parce qu'en vrai, s'il y a un souci, ça pue. Hein. Ça pue pour les mecs qui sont dedans, quoi.
Do some checks, do a go no go poll to ensure that we are okay to approach for docking. And we did hear confirmation that the soft capture ring is extended and ready for that docking.
Vas-y, dis pas que... Non, mais non, mais... On sait jamais, tu vois, si il arrive.
They said they would reconfigure that system and just got good confirmation that it has been reconfigured. That's those bidirectional communications between station and Crew Dragon.
Station Houston on 2 for Kate. We're still troubleshooting the RPOP issue you're having, so we're coming on board on SSC 17 and we'll try to fix that.
All right, you are welcome to SSC 17 and also SSC for the main RPOP computer.
Pas la traduction. Ah, en fait, je lis, mais je vais pas la faire parce qu'en vrai, s'il y a des mots qui sont fous ou quoi dans ce que je dis, j'ai pas envie. Vaut mieux ne rien dire et dire des bêtises.
Kate Rubens aboard the station, who is working to monitor Crew Dragon's arrival. As we mentioned, she is not commanding anything that Crew Dragon is doing, and neither are the crew themselves. This is completely autonomous, but she is trying to monitor some of that data, and so team members in Mission Control Houston are going to try and reconfigure the RPOP system.
Ils ont dit qu'ils essaient de surveiller certaines données. Houston va essayer de reconfigurer le système RPOP, je sais pas quoi. Je t'avoue que j'ai pas compris.
You can see on your screen, again, this is a view from station from the Node 2 port that Dragon will be docking to. You can see the sunlight hitting Dragon as it gets
wow, ça va trop vite, j'ai pas eu le temps de lire. Je disais le chat, what the fuck. Oula. Vous pouvez voir la lumière du soleil frappe. Enfin, je sais pas, par rapport à Dragon, je sais pas trop ce qu'ils ont voulu dire. Je t'avoue que le mot là j'ai pas suivi. Oula, ça va trop vite en vrai, mais ça va tellement vite, t'as pas le temps de dire. La lumière du jour serait là dans 45 minutes pour eux, d'après ce que j'ai pu suivre. Ça va tellement vite, je vous... Waouh, oh, ça m'a éclaté les yeux. Te fais pas de mal. Non mais en soi tu vois j'arrive à comprendre, c'est juste que traduire c'est pas simple. Mais en soi je comprends tu vois, mais c'est juste que des fois tu vois t'as les mots, tu sais pas comment le formuler vu que des fois j'ai pas la traduction exacte. T'as toujours pas un mal de crâne. Non en vrai ça va tu vois. En vrai ça va. En fait, je comprends l'anglais, mais c'est plus le traduire, j'ai du mal.
And if you noticed, we have lost video temporarily of Crew-Dragon as it's approaching the International Space Station, but that's really no surprise to us. It's something called a TDRS handover, tracking data and relay satellite system.
Je crois qu'ils ont été coupés, si j'ai pas dit de bêtises.
Crew-Dragon will be moving in and out of these handover periods, and we expect to regain video communications with the space station very shortly. In the meantime, it continues. Crew-Dragon continues.
En fait, ils attendent le regain de vidéo, enfin, le retour de la vidéo, enfin, de la communication avec l'espace au niveau de la station. En fait, ça va être coupé, d'où le blue screen en fait qu'on a eu. Donc voilà, ça y est, on a à nouveau du coup l'image qui est de retour. On peut voir l'ISS. Ah ouais, j'avoue que c'est badass. Hein. Ah, c'est badass. Hein. J'ai pas vu tôt, c'est quand même stylé. Ouais, c'est ce que je pense aussi. Donc le waypoint serait à 20 mètres devant eux, d'après ce que dit... parce que c'est marqué, attention. Ah, le waypoint, l'ISS plutôt. Je parle semi-anglais, semi-français.
Oh, ça va bientôt se terminer tout ça.
Ouais. Donc là, en gros, SS, je sais pas quoi, il faisait une sauvegarde. Il y avait le mot sauvegarde dedans, donc bon, j'ai pas tout suivi. En gros, là, ils ont demandé s'ils étaient prêts pour l'amarrage, copier. Là, inutile.
Et là, au moment de s'amarrer, t'as un astronaute qui fait « Mince, j'ai oublié mon attestation, on retourne
copier
sur Terre. »
ceux-là. Merci pour les informations supplémentaires. Donc là, ils sont en train d'atteindre le waypoint. Je sais pas c'est quoi la traduction de waypoint, mais en gros le pont 2, je veux dire, du coup, parce que je t'avoue que je sais pas trop.
Copy all, thank you.
Great news from Kate Rubens. She has the data she's looking for and a great
merci, il a dit merci, attention. Tout est achevé, t'as été copié, merci. Là, bon, gros, je regarde la fiche de données, la fameuse Kate. Je sais plus comment on appelle ça. Comment elle s'appelle la femme? En gros, elle vérifiait les données qui avaient été copiées. Parce que j'ai pu comprendre. Donc là, il s'approche du port d'amarrage. Ah, j'avoue que c'est pas simple. Hein. Donc là, en gros, ils parlent de la démo qu'ils ont pu faire. Bah après ça, je t'avoue que c'est... Ils auraient fait une démo pour l'amarrage. Aucune idée. Je sais pas si c'est vraiment la bonne traduction ou si... Bon, après Google défend. Enfin, Google Trad. YouTube traduction, là je sais pas si c'est Google, enfin attention c'est Google qui tient YouTube, donc c'est Google Trad en gros. Je t'avoue, je sais pas si c'est ce qui est marqué c'est réel. Ouais, ouais bah voilà, bah c'est sûrement ça du coup la démo. Ok. Ils ont pas de vue sur la cible, enfin sur la cible d'amarrage. Je sais pas si c'est ça. Nous sommes à 6 minutes du coucher de soleil. Voulez-vous tenir pour les 6 minutes Ouais bon, je t'avoue que là, vous sentez, ça va. Vous sentez confort. En gros, je vais dire le mot-clé confortable et...
Non, la traduction, c'est tu te sens à l'aise avec la procédure.
Voilà, c'est ça, exact. Et je savais pas comment le traduire.
So they can hold here, and that will give them the opportunity for sunset to come over both the International Space Station and Crew-Dragon.
Ils discutent de la station spatiale internationale. Ça leur donnera l'opportunité pour le coucher de soleil à venir sur... J'ai même pas le temps de lire. C'est incroyable. J'ai même pas le temps de lire. C'est mieux que je te finisse. Oh, bah oui. C'est autonome, le Crew-Dragon. Tellement vite. Voulons que l'équipe soit capable. D'accord.
but we are just waiting for us to get a little bit more light so that Dragon can actually see where it is going to autonomously dock, see the target on node 2 as it approaches so it can make that soft capture accurately.
We're in another one of those satellite handovers we just discussed as well. We should get video communications. Oh, right there. Coming back, and as we mentioned, Dragon is holding at waypoint 2. That's 20 meters away from the International Space Station. They are holding until we reach sunset.
En gros, il passe un manuel. Ouais, bah oui, du coup, parce qu'il leur reste 20 mètres avant d'atteindre du coup la station, l'ISS en gros. Ils pensent qu'ils atteindront. Ils ont parlé de coucher de soleil en même temps. Enfin bref, c'est. Oui, je m'envoie un peu les pinceaux pour le coup. Il devrait prendre environ 5 minutes. Donc ok, donc d'ici 5 minutes, à mon avis, ça va être bon.
And as a reminder, waypoint 2 is about 20 meters away from station.
Et donc tout était en automatique, mais il passe en manuel quand même. Par sécurité.
Dragon will be aligning itself with that docking
il rappelle que c'est environ 20 mètres de l'ISS. Le docking X, je m'en peu le temps. Ok. Donc il parle de la lumière du soleil, mais j'ai du mal à comprendre la phrase.
This hold continuing for another few minutes. The space station has crossed the terminator line. The difference in day and nighttime.
D'ailleurs, la vue qu'on a là, elle est belle. Hein. Elle est magnifique la vue.
East of Hawaii right now in the Pacific Ocean, and they are waiting for the sun to set on orbit.
Salut Spawn.
La différence entre la nuit, la journée et la nuit sur Terre, ils attendent le soleil pour se mettre en orbite. Pourquoi, je sais pas. Par contre, on serait capable d'utiliser une lumière infrarouge. Les amis, ça va trop vite, j'ai pas le temps de traduire. Elle va disparaître au moment de l'amarrage. Ouais, salut les gars. De ouf, il est 4h53 du matin. Donc oui, il est très tard. Et le coucher de soleil en même temps. Ouais, c'est ce que j'ai lu en fait, c'est pour ça, mais ça va tellement vite, t'as pas le temps de traduire. Et alignez-vous sans. Et alignez-vous.
The soft capture ring. There are also rotary spring dampers that will soften the contact once Dragon's soft capture.
Donc on se rapproche du coup dans 5 petites minutes, enfin dans 1 minute déjà ça va commencer normalement. Normalement c'est à 5 heures pile qui devrait être du coup amarré. Alors, je sais pas si ça se dit le mot amarré. Au pire on l'aura inventé, c'est pas grave.
That entire process from contact to hard capture can take about 13 minutes. We'll be standing by the entire time to make sure all of that goes smoothly.
La capture cardiaque peut prendre jusqu'à 13 minutes. Nous serons là tout le temps pour assurer. Bon, en gros, je pense le fonctionnement de tout. Je sais pas le mot exact. Je vais le dire. Maintenant, pour CREW-1, ils sont environ à 20 mètres de la station spatiale internationale.
So we should be hearing that call that they're ready to proceed. Again, there's no rush. And there's also
ils sont à 1 minute du coucher de soleil actuellement. Ils sont prêts à procéder, d'après ce que j'ai compris. Donc là, tout est. Je pourrais marquer autonome. Ouais, c'est ce que j'ai lu. C'est ce que j'ai lu, c'est ça. C'est que savoir si tout le monde va bien, etc. Qu'en gros, ils seront là. Fatigue là, ça pique. Ça commence à piquer.
Just a few more seconds until sunset. And you can see it did get quite a bit darker.
Encore quelques secondes avant le coucher du soleil. Ou le lever, je sais plus. Non, le coucher, pardon. Donc on peut voir qu'au niveau de l'ISS, bah, on a le petit pointeur qui clignote sur les points d'amarrage. Le port, je sais pas comment on appelle ça.
Un port, c'est un cochon. Oh, c'est du saucisson.
Il y a un risque. Ouais, bah ouais, je me doute. Il veille à ce que tout se passe bien. Départ à 20 mètres de la station. Ils sont toujours à 20 mètres du coup, j'ai l'impression qu'ils stagnent. Et ouais, donc on peut voir qu'ils sont proches. Hein. On peut voir la lumière qui... Ouais, ok. Donc ils sont en attente de confirmation. Enfin, ils attendent que nous attendons que l'équipage en gros confirme qu'ils sont prêts. Là, nous allons au coucher du soleil, nous allons vérifier que... nous avons essayé de bien procéder. Pour rappel, une fois, Dragon à l'intérieur de l'équipage. Ouais.
Au pire, on a Spoon qui est dans le chat, hein, il peut traduire.
Bah, en gros, ils ont rappelé en gros des règles une fois que Dragon sera à l'intérieur avec l'équipage. J'ai pas eu le temps de tout lire, mais voilà. Ils ont rappelé du coup les règles que Dragon doit. Il faut que la pression soit alignée. Ils commenceront à approcher. Ouais, nous serons assez proches. Okay. Ouais, bon. En gros, là, ils attendent juste. Le suivi.
Mentioned once that we reach the crew hands-off point, that's the chop call we'll hear. Retreat and breakout are not permitted.
Je crois que Spoon il est reparti. À mon avis, il a fait oula, je sais pas ce qu'ils font. Il regarde un truc bizarre.
If necessary, but as we said, everything continuing to look good for Crew Dragon, ready to depart waypoint 2. The final approach has begun. Crew Dragon moving in toward the International Docking Adapter on Node 2. Kate Rubin standing by on the International Space Station.
Après voilà, j'avoue que j'essaie de me démerder avec mes bases. Donc l'approche finale a commencé. Dragon se déplace vers du coup le truc là pour Amarrage, je sais plus comment on appelle ça. Donc là il y avait Kate, j'ai pas eu le temps de c'est génial, c'est génial. Le siège doit prendre approximativement 5 minutes, mais pas plus normalement. D'après ce qui est indiqué par la NASA, par du moins ceux qui communiquent avec la station spatiale. En gros, ils ont mis 27 heures. 27,5 ouais, pour arriver du coup à l'ISS. Mais je crois que c'est ça. Hein. Je crois que c'est bien ça, c'est 27 heures. Il serait parti. Ouais, ok. Actuellement, il est 19h27 en Amérique, enfin là, ou du moins. Ils sont environ à 3 minutes de l'amarrage. Du coup, on se rapproche de plus en plus. Ouais, hier, on a fait le live en plus, donc ouais.
We'll be looking for soft capture first with the soft capture ring already extended.
Minuit français, ouais. Et c'est ça, je crois que c'est ça. Hier, on m'a dit, tu dors? Vas-y, fais un live, ok. Donc ouais, je crois que c'est ça. Le rétractera la capture carrée prenant environ 13 minutes pour le processus.
Great to hear. We see 10 meters as well.
Nous avons un bon éclairage, un bon visuel. Il serait à 10 mètres. Nous voyons bien 10 mètres aussi. J'espère que vous avez le son du coup. Donc ils sont plus qu'à 10 mètres.
Et on rappelle, sont toujours à 26 000 km/h.
Et ils ont fait 17 500, enfin, ils ont fait 17 500 en gros par heure. Ouais, kilomètres par heure. Voilà.
Non, mais il faut rappeler aussi on a l'impression qu'ils sont statiques, mais ils sont à 26 000 km/h.
Ils sont déjà à la moitié pour arriver au waypoint, en gros, enfin au point d'amarrage. C'est plus très loin. D'ici une minute. Voilà. D'ici une petite minute, ça devrait le faire. C'est ce qui est marqué. Il s'approche du nœud, du port. En gros, le cercle que vous voyez là, enfin l'entrée, il se rapproche d'ici une minute, ils y seront. Normalement, tout devrait se passer. Il y a eu le centre.
If you look closely in the center at the very bottom, there was Chop, crew hands off point.
Ils vont faire des contrôles de fuite. Dès que le premier truc s'ouvrira. Ils sont en attente de contact. Port d'amarrage numéro 2. Ouais, donc waypoint 2 du coup. Mais ouais, c'est vrai que j'ai pas fait la traduction. J'ai juste dit waypoint 2. Pour me faire chier. Donc là, du coup, ils sont en attente de contact. Et donc ils y arrivent, je crois, ça y est, ils y sont bons. Donc là, Dragon, SpaceX, confirmé.
As you heard that call out, soft capture is now complete. Next will be hard capture. This is where the pins will insert themselves into
la capture est maintenant terminée, comme vous avez entendu cet appel.
And create a hard lock.
And we had that soft capture at 8:01 p.m. Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Crew Dragon and the International Space Station flying 262 statute miles.
Ils sont arrivés donc à 21.
Soft capture ring retraction in progress.
Ok, ils viennent donc d'arriver officiellement du coup à l'ISS.
Alors pour la petite info là, tu vois, c'est des écrans tactiles avec des gants tactiles.
Just what we're looking to hear, the soft capture ring is retracting. We're looking for sensors
appel confirmé.
It'll be time for hooks to drive, create that firm hold on Crew Dragon.
Tout est bon de leur côté. Bon, je vais pas continuer à te dire, ça sert absolument rien, mais voilà, en gros, tout est bon. Ils viennent d'arriver, donc l'ISS maintenant, là il est donc, ça a pris entre 10 à 13 minutes. Peut-être un peu moins, je crois. Enfin bref, en tout cas, ça s'est bien passé. Il n'y a pas eu de problème en soi. Qui d'ailleurs, c'est bien, hein, du coup.
This view over the shoulder of our commander and our pilot Mike Hopkins and Victor Glover. They are watching this all unfold via these 3 displays.
C'est bon, ils vont pouvoir aller aux toilettes.
We've got some folks here watching as we confirm that soft capture there. Everybody's pretty excited. I'm getting really excited.
Voilà,
I can't wait.
Je pense que tout est fini.
They're almost done. This is the home stretch.
Tout est bien passé.
À part si tu veux rester pour voir quand ils vont rentrer dans l'ISS, sinon...
Ça dépend, c'est dans combien de temps de quoi t'as une idée.
Oh, je sais pas, 4 heures, 5 heures. Non, ça peut arriver là.
Pacific time, 11:01 p.m. Eastern time. Both vehicles were flying 262
donc ils ont la confirmation à l'ISS comme quoi Crew Dragon vient d'arriver à 8h01 heure pacifique, 11h01 oui, non mais je sais, mais c'est 11h01, du coup je pensais du côté de l'Amérique. C'est plutôt bien passé, franchement étonnant. Normal, mais voilà. Savoir que du coup les personnes qui étaient dans la navette étaient embauchées par la NASA. Hein. C'est des personnes de la NASA, c'est pas SpaceX. Malgré que ça a été aussi, le projet a été porté aussi par SpaceX. Personnes dans la navette, c'était des personnes embauchées par la NASA.
SpaceX, ils font juste le transport.
Ouais. D'ailleurs, c'est incroyable de se dire que quelqu'un qui gérait juste une marque de voiture Tesla, a pris des millions, s'est engagé pour faire ce qu'il voulait, donc SpaceX, et il a réussi.
Non, c'est encore plus bête que ça. Elon Musk, avant de faire Tesla, il a pas fait ça, il a fait PayPal. Il a vendu PayPal, il a fait Tesla, et après il a fait SpaceX.
Et carrément incroyable ce mec.
Ouais, vas-y. Salut.
Bon, je passe sur la concurrence pour l'intérieur de la navette. Allez, bisous. Pas de soucis, salut.
We heard the soft capture ring retract is complete. And MCS stands for Motion Control System. We are handing off from
bah écoute, nous je pense qu'on va pouvoir terminer là.
The US gyroscopes. The other voice you heard was that of NASA astronaut Kate Rubins monitoring the arrival of her 4 new crewmates inside Crew-1. Everything's still going smoothly.
Bah écoutez, moi je pense.
We're currently awaiting that hard capture to be complete. As we mentioned, it can take about 10 minutes.
Bon bah écoutez, je pense qu'on va s'arrêter là du coup. Bienvenue à tous parce que c'est con qu'on rentrer, mais voilà, en tout cas il est tard, il est déjà 5 heures.
Confirmation, we are now on gyroscopes on the
merci pour ceux qui ont été là. Merci beaucoup. Et puis on se dit chaîne pourquoi pas pour refaire du coup vraiment un live.
Dragon copies, good news.
Good news indeed. MCS, the motion control system
configuration is complete.
We have now moved to those gyroscopes instead of